All right, welcome back to day 25, the 100 horror films in 31 days. I'm actually posting this on the 31st, so happy Halloween to everybody. I got in 5 films. First up, I watched the Val Lewton Legacy documentary, which was on as a bonus feature in the DVD set I have. It's a 2005 documentary, and it's good. It's got a lot of directors that waxing prophetic about how Val Lewton's 8 and 9 films are like the pinnacle of horror and kind of set the trend. Particularly, I think William Friedkin just has a love fest for Val Lewton. I do too, but I think it's a little bit of a push. I think to say that those 9 films defined horror going forward. I mean, I think they had a certain tremendous amount of influence, and I think they're all great films, but whether they are the pinnacle of horror is another thing. But yeah, it was a good documentary. Then I watched The Frighteners with Michael J. Fox, 1996. I'd never seen The Frighteners. It's a fun film. Michael J. Fox plays um, basically a Ghostbuster. It's kind of a Ghostbuster film where he goes in and tries to exorcise a house or exorcise ghosts, and it's got a lot of comic elements to it. It was fun. I mean, it's not one that I would have probably gone to normally, but I had recorded it off of, I think, Cinemax or something like that. It was a fun time. 7 out of 10. Next up, 1978's The Fury. Brian De Palma, Kirk Douglas, John Cassavetes. Um, Basically, Kirk Douglas plays this like CIA guy whose son has these special powers, and the government is plotting to capture the son and try to learn his secrets and use his powers for government. And in doing so, of course, they try to off Kirk Douglas, and then Kirk Douglas has to go and find him. John Cassavetes plays the baddie in this. It's a fun, good film, more like a crime story, detective story than a horror film. Maybe the last 20 minutes is horror related. Um, it's a little long. I mean, Brian De Palma's films are a bit self indulgent, but I think watching John Cassavetes explode is the pinnacle of the film. And I mean, I had it at a 7 out of 10. I give it an 8 out of 10. I mean, John Cassavetes exploding. I mean, his head flying in the air and all that. You got to give that a point. So yeah, that's The Fury from Arrow. I already watched all the special. It's a host of special features, audio commentaries, that type of thing. Next up is 2000. I think this is 2008. Midnight Meat Train, which is a Clive Barker short story, uh, directed by a Japanese director who directed Godzilla Final Wars, uh, Kitamura. Um, it stars Vinnie Jones and Bradley Cooper in an odd kind of a role, in an odd film, quite honestly. I mean, it's a serial killer with a strange backstory and a strange ending. Vinnie Jones here is the killer, and he's basically killing people. He's on a quest. He's part of a group that's killing people for a certain purpose that I don't want to give it away, but basically Bradley Cooper plays a newspaper reporter that tries to figure out why these killings are going on. Pretty good film. I mean, uh, lots of interesting action and lots of interesting setup shots as far as the gore. I give it a 7 out of 10. It's a film people don't talk too much about. And then finally, just got this from Mondo. This is Woman Chasing the Butterfly of Death, a bizarre Asian art house film. Kim Yi Young. Um, this is film. The Asian films have such kind of culturally. I think it's kind of hard for sometimes, for me anyway, to grasp kind of where they're coming from as far as the backstory and these type of things. But basically, the whole film centers on man's will to live, and his will to live can overcome death. And but in amongst that general theme, you've got some bizarre scenery, some bizarre imagery where guys are getting stabbed and they live through it, and it's just a bizarre film. But it's kind of a morality tale wrapped around a horror film. It's interesting. It's one of those films I kind of need to probably watch again just to kind of immerse myself in it a little more. Because I mean, when you're watching, when I'm up to like 100, I'm over 100 films already. I mean, it's sometimes you just watching one right after the other, and sometimes they just kind of gloss over. I mean, it just happens. This is one of those that you really need to pay attention and you can't just be half watching this. You really got to be paying attention. It's interesting, and I will definitely revisit it because I think it has some interesting imagery and an interesting premise. All right, I think that's going to do it for day 25. I will be recording all the way through the 1st and watching films all the way through November 1st, which is the Criterion. Actually, it's the horror comedy crossover. So for those people that just can't get enough of these challenges, in November, DVD Talk's doing a comedy challenge, which I'm not going to do, but I got to take a break after this. But I will be watching a couple films for the night of Halloween. All right, I will see you soon. Thanks for watching.